James Bond wishes he had an entrance.
Yeah, I
There's a
believe
weird
the
thing with
kids call
camera,
this
but
aura.
called
Aura
aura.
farming in the junior high science lab. Let me give you $100. And again,
Boom.
I
Yeah.
mean, the red flags. You're like, as a kid, you're like,
No,
dude, he's a
no,
bad
no!
guy.
You're like, he's the guy from the prologue. Welcome to Talking to Tomatoes, the podcast where we talk about the fundamentalist Christian children's media that we grew up in, not only for its quality, but for the pernicious propaganda behind it. My name is Eric Everly.
And I'm Jubilee Alexander.
Today we are taking a break, a blessed break from Odyssey, and returning
Sweet
to
Jesus.
the feature films for family sequel, The Buttercream Gang 2, The Secret of Treasure Mountain.
Oh,
A
we're
real
back in Elk Ridge, baby, or
Elk.
Elkhart, or
No, it's Elk Ridge, because every time they say that, I think they're saying Oak Ridge, and it's like a whole thing.
they're
But
like Elk Ridge. I'm like, Oak Ridge?
yeah, this was a movie produced in a year that I probably should have looked up. The early '90s.
I like it said 96, because the other one I think was in 93. And the kids are significantly older.
But it's so fun. It's funny because some of them definitely look older, and some of them look exactly the same. But this is a film produced by
boy
feature.
Scott's, he's hitting puberty. His voice is dropping. The braces are off. Margaret, she took her glasses off. Anne Hathaway, who?
Anyway, Feature Films for Family was a Utah-based, founded by a Mormon, but not explicitly Mormon, a faith-based media company. Started in the late 80s, went into the 90s, that eventually got shut down, or at least sued into oblivion by through its shady practices of basically lying about what kind of a company they were in order to telemarket. They've been sued multiple times, including millions and millions of dollars of fines from the FCC, as well as some individual lawsuits for hundreds of thousands of dollars, that made, good family values, not like explicitly religious. I'm sure that they would sort of balk a little bit about being classified as a faith-based film.
It's weird to think about that as I could almost see like an alliance between people who, I don't know, who are just generically conservative. Don't cancel me. Like, conservative is such a dirty word now because every time you say conservative, you think that it is like, I mean, you're thinking big C conservative, right? You're thinking, I hate gay people. Every woman should have babies until their uteruses literally explode because God wants it that way. And I should be allowed to marry children. This is what we think it is, but I almost, I, it's weird how charming almost I found the religious background. Like, the religion made sense in this movie. It wasn't someone being like, hey, I am religious. We must do good because God wants us to. They were just like chill people, and they were like, the Bible verse made sense because it was part of like a treasure map.
It's
Or like part
literally
of
a
a
riddle.
riddle.
It's like part of the riddle of this thing is the Bible verse. Yeah. But yeah, I mean definitely the message and everything in this one is a lot less overt as a religious message, and just like someone who is willing to do anything for money, that's a bad thing, and you know indirectly the God or the earth itself will punish you for that. To catch people up who haven't watched or aren't familiar with this property, the Buttercream Gang in the universe is a gang of boys, basically a community service organization, founded in. There's the very funny scene in this one where they basically verbatim have the exact same story told in the exact same way from the
It
first
was
movie.
like a script because it was like two people having a very honestly a decently naturalistic conversation, and then it's like exposition time. Let's hear you go. Like, yeah, the words were identical.
Yeah, yeah. So they're a gang of boys. That's like a tradition in this town. When the when a raid killed several of the men, their widows basically needed help, and so teenage boys around town. I mean, really, we're talking really preteen boys. Would come around and help them churn their butter, and so they were called the Buttercream Gang. And it's like it's kind of a there's not it's not really explained ever like how you become one, how you like when do you stop being a buttercreamer and stuff, because there are older.
They call themselves buttercreamers. It's so challenging.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast, creamers and screamers. The But yeah, so they help they're like generically good, community service oriented, help old people. Like that's a lot more. The sort of breadth of what they do is a little shown a little more in the first movie. In this one, it's their good deeds are more or less concentrated around one thing, which is the shopkeeper from the first movie, Mr. Graff, is had a heart attack and is sick and needs money. I assume for medical bills. I don't know if they explicitly say that, but or if he's just is like unable to work, but he needs money, and so like he has to sell his house and the property in which the boys' treehouse, like their club treehouse, has been for however long it's been there. And so there's a little bit of a it's really set up as a, oh no, the our rec center, the teen center is going to be destroyed by developers to put in condos or something like that. But again, it's a tiny little town. Like, who's gonna buy this and be like, no, I'm gonna bulldoze.
Who's gonna buy it is D- D- Don Diggerbilly or some. It was a
Del
really
Ditto or something. Del Dildo.
Don Del Ditto. That was his name, which is like, I'm fucking sorry. What?
That's quite the name. Anyway, so they need to find they need to find a way to help this guy, apparently seemingly to raise tens if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for whatever he needs it for. The story of this basically it sets up, rather than this being a story centered around Scott, it's a story centered around Eldon, one of the original Buttercreamers from the first movie. And kind of it's sort of a, I guess, like a journey of him dealing with feelings of inadequacy. He is kind of like, I don't know how fair this is, because it's really his comparison to Scott, the president, which they don't actually mention, but it was from the last movie. They were like, he's who's the next president of the Buttercreamers, but who is, I mean, again, it's kind of the language of the movie. He is attractive. He maybe has a girlfriend. He is athletic. He is heroic. All the things
There was like
that
a 20-minute side note where he like takes someone to the dance. Someone who they've been antagonistic towards each other the whole time makes him take her to the dance.
in the
Don't know what
first
this
movie.
dance
Yeah.
is about. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, sorry, yeah, in the first movie. So we're like, okay, cool. So
Yeah.
that's the character he is. We all
Yeah.
know it, the leader of the group.
Yeah, the leader of the group. And how is Eldon dealing with feeling like he's not good enough? And of course, we have to establish these things. We see Eldon failing to do water skiing, and then Scott is, I guess, very natural, which Scott's dad is driving the boat, so it's like, yeah, of course he'd be better at it. He like they do it more often. No wonder. We're sort of establishing that, and Eldon wishing that he could do something good. He could sort of get some recognition, which, while kind of driving the plot, actually his like need for recognition doesn't really come up that much, in a way that I thought was a big missed opportunity. I feel like, to me, because you texted me while you're watching it, you're like, I'm actually really enjoying this movie, and I kind of did as well. But I really was seeing like lots of missed opportunities in this movie, which was kind of the probably my main complaint out of it. Anyway, we there's all this stuff. There's a weirdly dramatic scene where there's a little girl at the side of the lake who is mummifying herself in like a rope that's tied to a speedboat. that
Why
how
was
all
there
this.
like a 5 mile long rope attached to nothing? It was not attached to a dock. It was just a 5 mile long rope coiled up perfectly on
Yeah,
the.
we're not at a dock where we're like, how did this boat get here and how did the rope get onto the shore? That's another thing that's just the placement of objects. And you know, Eldon basically, this girl is tied up ties herself up in this rope somehow, and then the boat starts to go, and the cord is unraveling. It's like, save my baby, and all the boys try to converge to try to do that, and Scott gets there first, and it helps. While Eldon falls off the dock and almost drowns because he's taken off his life jacket, because that's how he gets his water skis on. But yeah, again, it's like we literally see him take off his last
I,
water ski,
I was
and
like,
then
that doesn't
he
make
is
any
stuck in it.
sense.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I was
no,
like,
it
oh,
doesn't.
yeah, it's called a joke.
But so yeah, and he's complaining about Scott always getting to do things, which actually I found for a movie with as stilted dialogue as it is, an actual decent conversation that happens right after. So Scott saves the girl, and then Lenny, the third buttercreamer, goes and saves Eldon from drowning. And they're like hanging off the edge of the dock, and he's like, "Ah, I wish I just once I could do something great," and kind of setting up the, hey, we're like a team and we never give up. Lenny's like, oh, you make us laugh, and he goes, oh, I'm the clown. We don't need a clown. And Lenny goes, yes, we do. I mean, no, we don't, because he just like confirmed. And I was like, yeah, that's
Lenny's
actually
a
pretty funny.
mess. I'm sad we didn't get a Lenny based movie, but Lenny's kind of a mess.
Yeah, he definitely feels like I don't know, sort of like an afterthought. It's like, well, we can't have two. We
Well,
have to
then it
have a
would be
third.
gay if two
But
boys were being affectionate
yeah,
or
yeah, of
like
course.
hanging out together all the time.
Adding our rule of threes. Another thing that Eldon like messes up at, well, gosh, I guess we're at four if you count him falling down the mountain. There are the other people who are kind of at this like day at the lake are basically artifact hunting. You know, one of them's got someone's uncle has a metal detector, and they're like looking for old arrowheads and this, that, and the other thing.
Which
And
why do they have a metal detector to find arrowheads, stone arrowhead?
I'm looking for ancient artifacts with my metal detector. So Eldon then runs up and goes, I found something. The uncle goes to grab his glasses, and they're like, it's got Spanish writing on it. It must be the treasure. This is the treasure of this mountain that is like a legend that we all know. And it turns out it's a flattened like beer cap. And then literally right after that reveal, Scott comes around the corner having found a golden Spanish doubloon,
A
which
literal doubloon.
which I also just realized we skipped the beginning of this movie, which is a hundreds of years previous flashback establishing the treasure and stuff. So let's go back and talk about that. So it starts off with these conquistador looking guys in
For the record,
Castillo.
they look like conquistadors because they are.
Well, yes, yes, yeah. But again, confusingly, because we're not really established where we are. I mean, we're in Utah. Let's be real.
You know, all the conquistadors that got all the way up to Utah
That got up to
or
Utah, did they? I don't know.
Indiana.
They're
But you know
they're
what's weird is now I'm thinking about like, so for a couple of reasons. One, almost all of the little kids are in that first scene where clearly they were like, let's go to the lake, bring everyone. Like, let's go have our, like, remember there was like one small section of the last movie where they clearly got like 30 little blonde children to all be in this. They did this again. And I think that was it because there was like a really obvious beer cap, like 30 people in weird
that way everybody gets a line in the movie. You know, I
everyone
got
gets a
to,
line. Everyone's part of the movie. Yeah, there were like 20 buttercreamettes credited in the.
of this movie or the last one.
No, in
I
this one, there was
oh
I'm exaggerating, but there were at least like 6 to 8 when there were maybe 10 characters and other characters in the entire
yeah,
movie.
half the cast is buttercreamettes. But yeah, so in this little prologue section, there's three conquistadors, a leader, and the two bumbling followers, and they've got a chest that they're dragging up the mountain.
It's very small, and I know gold is I like no gold is heavy, but it is comical that these two like especially like there's like of course there's like a little mousy there's a little mousy
They're Abbott and Costello.
guy.
Like,
Yeah, and a big fat guy, and the chest is like a little bit bigger than a shoebox, which would probably be very heavy if it was full of gold coins. But
yeah, it's leather and like soft sided. I'm like, there's no way this wouldn't be like being forced outward by the weight of hundreds of pounds of gold, is what it has to be. And they're fleeing from some Native Americans who they use some choice language about that I'm not sure where we stand on repeating that, so I'm not going to. And so they're fleeing from these Native Americans. You know, there's one scene that I find very funny where they're you know going around and they stop for a break, and then like some Native American warrior appears kind of on a ridge and is like looking down on them, very like in like the language is communicated in very menacingly. And one of them grabs like a blunderbuss and is like takes aim, and the leader's like, stop, don't. It's like, don't. And he's like, oh, but I can shoot him. He's like, are you ready to shoot 100 more? Because, you know, obviously the sound of gunfire would bring, if they're clearly being hunted, so they'll like converge on their location and be killed, apparently. And he goes, but I can shoot him. He's like, are you ready to shoot 100 more? And he kind of like relaxes, and his gun tips forward and the bullet rolls out and thud to the ground. And he goes, no. And then they grab it. And I was like, that's very
I
fun.
big picture, like I'm gonna go ahead and say, I generally liked this movie. Like big missed opportunities. There were some. I think in the last movie there was like one actor. Was it the priest who was like super high energy and in like scenes that kind of didn't really warrant it? I love the henchmen. Like they're silly, but the villain is genuinely a compelling actor
Oh,
in the
he's
scene.
good.
He's
He doesn't.
spectacular.
He does not. You could almost replace him with like it's like I have this image in my head of like a karate fighting like Spanish man in some 80s movie that I'm like, it's got like you could replace him within, you know, he's not quite he's a little older, he's a little old to be like an Antonio Banderas kind of like a
Yeah.
smoldering kind of a thing, because he's a little bit older and stuff. But also like so again, sort of finish up the story. They get to a cave. There's this priest. There's this scene about hiding the gold, and the priest is being very judgy to them about the gold, but he's somehow involved in their expedition, which now getting distracted already, because he actually they actually have he's the one who says, I don't know if nice is the right word, but definitely complimentary things about the Native Americans that they're running from. Because later we learned that this expedition had 200 men at the beginning, and they're down to three, implying that they've been killed in the process of
Great
this.
joke because the priest goes, "How many men did you bring with you at the were with you at the beginning?" And they go 200. And he goes, "How many do you have left?" And he looks over at his two henchmen, and they like give him the
And
thumbs.
they're all like,
And he goes, "None." And I was just like, "Get his fucking ass."
that was so good. And they're all
That was
like,
a real
oh.
again spectacular. I don't know who these actors are.
Yeah, that was really good. And so what happens is they have somehow created a map to where they're going to hide this gold, and then they cut the map up and spread it out. But it's very unclear what happens, because the leader gets one part, the priest gets another, and then the third is lost. And they later find it on the mountain. The other thing that they of course do is, you know, takes place in I believe they say it's the 1600s at a later point. They chop up the map, and then the leader like pulls out the gun and makes the two henchmen swear to like because they're bumbling, I guess, got them into this or something, to basically serve his family until the gold is returned to the family. And then all four of the actors in that scene, the leader, the two henchmen, and the priest, are in the present day as the descendants of those people. Which, you know, it's cheesy, but it makes sense for the three. I'm not sure about the Catholic priest situation to be a direct line from the 1600s to especially for him to have been settled.
Also, They didn't marry.
Hey, you don't
You
have
know
to
what's
marry to have
devastating?
kids.
So the guy that played Doctor, oop, I just had it, Doctor
Ameldivar?
Almodovar.
Yeah,
Almodovar. The guy who
yeah.
played Doctor Almodovar, he was the mayor of in Willie the Sparrow,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Only did LDS movies. This is not. I thought this was some.
What?
I would have sworn this was a ringer from. Okay, he did a few feature things, but he did mostly. He did Willie the Sparrow, Outlaw Trail, The Treasure of Butch Cassidy, and then he
Okay.
was in other LDS things.
For if in case people don't know,
Oh,
LDS, that's like short for the
Latter Day
church,
Saint.
the
That's
Church of
Mormons.
Jesus Christ Latter Day Saint, the Mormon Church, who is very well funded and does a lot of media stuff that feature films for families, not the
I
least of which.
gun to my head. I would have sworn. I was like, what SVU is he in? Clearly, he's some like
Yeah, yeah. What
researcher in Law of Order or something.
he's a slightly menacing, but suave enough Spanish man with a ponytail. Surely he's been a cocaine dealer at some point. I mean, maybe he has. He just did it in LDS movies that were. We gotta, yeah. Well, maybe we should follow this actor around because he's good. So they cut the map up and they swear an oath. Very interesting move that I found very compelling. In that is the priest whips around on them and forbids them to swear an oath to God about gold, basically. And I was just like, oh,
Huh.
that's very interesting. And so he makes them swear on their children's eyes, I guess, to serve his
I
family.
missed
And
that
so,
part. Which weird move? Just be like, hey, how about you guys? How about your children serve me for 7 generations? Be like, or no, like for what? For why?
or fuck you, like,
For
yeah, yeah.
fun?
Or do we get a share of the treasure? Like, what's going on here? And so, coming back to our oh wait, that's the other thing. Um, there's all this implication that basically, the conquistadors were killed for being conquistadors and trying to taking stuff from the taking land for the Native Americans. But there is this implication. Oh, because the oath that he makes them, he tells them, you cannot swear an oath about gold that has blood on it specifically, which to me at least implies that they took this gold from the Native Americans, which I mean did happen, but it is literally a chest of Spanish doubloons. So I mean,
Were they minting coins?
who was
Like,
minting these coins? Did they sell, buy things from the Native Americans and then steal their gold
yeah, I
back?
was like,
Like,
that's what I probably would think. But it's also weird to bring gold with you to the new world and then have that be the treasure you're holding on to. I don't know.
yeah, it's the source of this treasure is kind of ambiguous. There's a lot of innuendo about where it came from and what it's for and all that, but for the most part it's like whatever. Ultimately it's the MacGuffin. It's a big pile of money, and it becomes a legend in Elk Ridge, that somewhere in the mountain there's Spanish treasure. And so this is obviously the doubloon that Scott finds is one of these treasures. And then Eldon gets this idea that he's got to go. I'll go find the treasure because obviously it came down from somewhere, and so he's climbing up the side of the mountain, which everyone
The way
freaks the fuck out about. Eldon's doing
he's
something crazy. He's like 30
again,
feet
it's
up.
like this looks like a stunt that would be like, let's put a very small child doing that. You know, if like a 6-year old was that high up. But he looks like he's not even up, if someone could be like 5 feet up a rock face and you could shoot it to make it look like he was up there, they are maybe 40 feet from him, and Eldon is maybe 10 feet higher than they are. And he's up at the edge where a rock is, and he's putting his hands on it like he's just gonna climb up the side of this rock in his
Yeah,
khaki short.
like
I'm wearing khaki shorts, by the way, out of honor of that thing. in his
the
khaki shirts and white tennis shoes. He's just
they
gonna
they
scale.
it would be more impressive if he was on like a bouldering wall at a rock gym. Like that is
Yeah,
how unimpressive this is.
like a
They don't
bad bolt, like a bouldering wall that they can only get to be like up 6 feet. That is the amount, the distance right there. And he,
and he falls and slides. Which, speaking of stunts, I was just like, because there's actually quite a few bad ones, or they didn't want to do a stunt, so they do a lot of like POV with the camera to imply stuff that ends up being very confusing. But I was watching it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the kid. I mean, it's not that big of a thing, but he is in shorts and flip flops rolling down the rocky side of a mountain at one point. And it doesn't really matter how, but he grabs this stick that's apparently been stuck in the ground and being weathered for hundreds of years that has part of the map wrapped around it. Um,
well,
and
I think it's like a scroll case is what I thought it was, or is it the
well,
scroll itself?
well, because they say they wrap the map around the priest's staff, and then when they're like, we've got to get the map out of here. He cuts it. They literally chop it into thirds with a sword, and
Oh,
yeah. So
weird.
where this because again we know that Ameldevar, the his ancestor, has one. That we later find out that the priest kept one of them, and then this third one was just out in the on the mountainside for hundreds of years. And they're like, "Oh, ancient document. We got to be careful with that. Let's get that. Let's get that home, and we'll see what we can do." After that, that's when we're sort of introduced to the issue with Mr. Graff. The Buttercream Gang is helping fix up his house so he can sell it, and then he shows up and is like, "Oh, you guys are doing pretty well. Like thanks for your help, boys." And they're all sad because partly for the treehouse and partly for Mr. Graff, that we gotta do something about this. So what can we do? And it was later, at least temporally, shown to be the same thing. Is this the scene with the rich guy with the the people who come to look at the house?
Yeah, because well, there's this long montage of them trying to raise money. There's several things that they do to try to raise money, and again, it's a couple of
That comes
weird.
that I know all the montage of them raising money comes after the guy shows up with the book, because it's sort of implied somebody comes to look at the rich guy comes to look at Mr. Graff's house, and he's like a
This
scammy book
woman
salesman.
kisses a child that she does not know, which is oi.
That's a lot.
She's like, this kid's cute. And again, like, it would be just as weird if it was like a little say, like, don't kiss like children you don't know. That's my advice to you, person getting around in the world.
Free advice.
She's like, oh, these kids are so cute. Goes to a child who is taller than her, and goes, you're so cute. Grabs him and kisses him on the face, like
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
to leave like where everyone's making fun of. There's literally lipstick, like in the most baffling way, like way of like, there's lipstick on your face, ha 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 ha.
But yeah, so these guys. I mean, it's not really important because it never comes up again. But it's a very odd scene because yeah, they come up and it's like sort of rich aloof guy and his sort of neurotic, obsessed with cutesy stuff, wife, girlfriend, whoever, and then she's walking around saying how everything is cute, but she can't. But it's the gag is like she can't. She's like, "What's the word? What's the word?" And he keeps filling her in. Cute, cute. And she sees, oh, these little kids are so He goes, cute, and we're like, okay. Which again, because she's commenting on all of this stuff, and she talks about the kids, and she kisses Eldon on the cheek, and then she starts to cry when she sees the old man because he reminds her of her grandma. Because then they walk around the house, this really weird long shot of them literally walking down the side of the house, squeezing between a tree and the house to get to the back. At which point, like the camera's moving and the woman crosses the frame, exits the frame, and starts cooing about something else. Oh my gosh, what's a cutie little, oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, baby, baby, like thing like that. And you're like, what the fuck is she doing? Like, what has she done? She pushed someone over and grabbed a baby. But no, there's like animal cages and there's pigeons. Again, not explain what the hell these pigeons in cages are doing in the backyard, but she's talking to animals, but it starts with her off screen. And given what has just been established about her sort of being inappropriate, like with her. She walks up to a man and goes, "Oh, honey, he's so cute." She walks up to a child, like does all this stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is she doing now? And then it's like it comes to nothing, and these characters never reappear. It doesn't become a because again we're setting up this.
There's
We've got
this
to raise the money to
long
save the
drawn out, yeah, there's this long drawn out bit where the is it the guy or the realtor who's like, here's the book on how to make $1 million with no money
it's the
down.
Yeah, it's the guy. Yeah, he's got a scammy book about making $1 million overnight with nothing down is like the title of it. And Eldon goes, making money, like, obviously with his desire to like succeed here, he's like, "Oh, if I made," and to sort of speak to the character of Eldon, he's not like, "Yes, I can't wait to be rich." He's like, "I can make some money to help Mr. Graff," sort of a thing. And then, of course, the very funny thing where the guy is selling the book for in 1996 for $49.95. Like,
That I just realized how I was just like, sure, it's like a weird amount of money. And then I was like, wait a minute. $49 is an insane amount of money for a book. So
hardback D&D stuff retails for $40 to $50 a piece, and those are big, glossy, art-filled books, not a cheap dust jacket on some novel you found. But so again, like this feels like an important scene. Again, this is like the wasted potential, because I thought what they were setting up, because I couldn't remember how that, because we've seen this movie before as children, but I thought they were setting up Dom Del Ditto, whatever the guy's name was, as an antagonist of, oh, we got to raise the money before he buys Mr. Graff's house. And oh, get rich quick guy. Who else in this story would buy Mr. Graff's house in a way that is going to threaten the Buttercreamers' treehouse, kind of a thing? Like, no, a rich out of town carpet bagging developer is the guy. But then the other thing is with the book, you're like, Eldon is like, oh, he's like, I could raise $49.95 easy. And then he like jumps on his bike and bolts. And we go, okay, so this is like the first half of Act 2 of this movie is Eldon trying to raise the money to get the book to save Mr. Graff's house. And then we're going to get a point where he starts to get desperate. It's like I thought it was setting this whole thing up in this way, but that's not what ends up happening. They go to start raising money, guess just for Mr. Graff, but it starts the first of two fantasy sequences that we see, where Eldon is imagining basically the glory he's gonna get. So, which again I thought was gonna come into play a little more, was Eldon isn't in it for the money. He doesn't want $1 million overnight with nothing down for himself. He wants it to help Mr. Graff and stuff. But what he wants is the glory and the adulation and recognition for having done something great, kind of more or less by himself, rather than as Scott's sidekick.
and you know what's weird about that is like it's it's very interesting that they frame that as a problem. Like, Eldon, don't worry about being good at this or being the best or whatever it is. Like, it's so weird that they are down on Eldon for that, but what he's doing with that is objectively good. Like, he's not doing like, I almost feel like a better lesson would have been if I don't know what shady thing they would have him do, but if he was doing something shady for money, or like, oh, let's sell that. Like, I mean, even when they're like, oh, I'll give you 100. Sorry, am I making any sense? Like,
Yeah,
it's
no, I
weird that
see it.
they frame it like it's a problem, even though what he's doing is a good thing, is objectively a good thing. Raise money
I
to help someone. That's cool. Like, that's great.
Yeah, it feels like the kind of thing where if I don't know, Eldon's obsession with the money of it is a problem, then you need the solution to be like, I guess, like, have faith that, I don't know, there will be a windfall or Mr. Graff will get better or something like that. Like, but again, that's like too religious of a message for what this movie is kind of trying to be, which is, a treasure hunt story. Um, So Eldon, so they go to, I forget the order of things because that's it's one of the next two scenes is where they meet Ameldavar's descendants, who is like a document, like an archaeologist who's going to like verify this document. And then there's a which I think we'll just do that one next because in some order, yeah, because Eldon's leaving because he's like, we gotta open that mysterious document we found now
Oh, that's
because
his first plan, and when that doesn't work, then he opens a lemonade stand. He's gonna raise $100,000, 45 cents at a time, which is an insane price for a glass of lemonade. Make it 50 cents. Oh, thanks for that
Eldon,
nickel. Thanks for that
Eldon, you don't
55 cents back.
Eldon, you have a cash drawer that's all nickels. What are you doing? He runs back to his uncle, who is a middle school science teacher, who is either on the weekend or on vacation, maybe it's sort of implied, is at the school doing science in his lab that is all,
The
burners and
loudest beakers are bubbling for the entire thing.
what? And
You
so
didn't
he
hear
goes
that? Oh,
what?
yo, no, you're doing. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he's like, I can't hear you over the your Erlenmeyer flasks. So they run back in and they're like, you gotta open it now. I know you wanted to wait, but we gotta open it now. And then he's like, boys, this is Dr. Ameldavar. And again, just the weirdest shot where it's like the camera is over someone's shoulder as it comes around, and then Ameldavar like stands up, so you just see his head, and then he like the camera moves or the person who's blocking it rotates, and you see him, and again he's this tall, slightly regal, suave, but not in like not in like a super sexy Antonio Banderas way, man with a ponytail.
It is a breathtaking performance, like because he is doing in a weird way where you could see an actor who's given just say a bad note or something, where he is just like, maybe he's shooting alone in the room and the editing makes it look weird for him to be like, hello, do you want me to open that? And everyone's like, this feels weird. He is pulling off charming but not corny, and like suave but not sexy, in a way that is absolutely spot on perfect for a children's movie villain. It's so good.
Yeah,
He's
I mean,
great.
I believe when he stands up, you're literally, sorry, podcast listeners, I'm doing a visual thing here. He's like sideways, and he's like putting on gloves, and he's like, "Hello, I'm Doctor." I mean, James Bond wishes he had an entrance,
Yeah,
like this. I mean,
I
there's a weird
believe the
thing with the
kids
camera.
call this
But
aura.
the kids call this
Aura
aura.
farming in the junior high science lab.
He is an archaeologist, again played by the same actor, who is an archaeologist specialty in like this era, kind of a thing. What the hell he's doing in Utah? Looking well, though. I guess if wherever they are, we're supposed to believe the conquistadors made it up there. Then I guess he would be around. And then we also meet his bumbling his two bumbling assistants, who they're like, okay, now we begin the very tedious and gentle process of opening this up. And then they knock something over, and he goes, silence! Please forgive my associates. They have served my family for generations. And everyone goes, okay. Like, like that's not weird at all.
All right, they could just be working for you.
Yeah, I mean, you would that does feel like this sort of like that feels like a reveal that makes things feel more sinister. You're like, these are my associates, what, or these are my employees, whatever you want to call them. Sorry, they're kind of dumb. And then later, when there's like a confrontation, the associates are like, you don't understand. We have to work with this guy.
Yeah,
Because
or like what, like later on, there's like a confrontation where Ameldavar's not there, and like everyone's like, "Why are you doing this?" And they're like, "Well, they could
we
be like,
have
well,
to.
we have to." It's instead he's just like, "Excuse me, exposition, exposition."
These are my generational indentured servants. You Americans, welcome to that concept, children. And so he starts to undo the document, because again, it's a piece of paper, ancient paper, hundreds of years old, wrapped around a piece of paper. and he's doing all this like careful like teasing it open, and then picks up a big old needle and stabs through it, and then starts like pushing it open, and I'm like, oh my god, even I know that's not how you treat ancient documents.
He's using a foam brush. Like yeah, I will say, like it looks good for a while, and there's genuine tension because he like unravels it slowly, and he's slowly unraveling it while brushing nothing onto the thing. Which I guess he maybe he's supposed to be dusting to like try to see what it is, but it's also very bright, very clean paper. So there's like he's just kind
Yeah,
of doing it, but yeah, then he just kind of
uniformly
rolls it
stained
down.
paper. It's like, oh, there we go. Which then this thing takes on qualities because it's of course the third of the map that helps them find the magical treasure and stuff, and it ends up being like you see it at a couple different times they pick it up, and it's literally like I mean for a piece of paper it is ridiculously thick. Like it might as well be
It's like
written
thicker
on
than a
leather.
sheet of leather.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, it's thicker than that. They open it up, and Ameldevar goes, "I'm sorry, this is like a farming like a survey report or something like that," and everyone's all bummed, and he's like, "I could give you," he's like, "It would be worth $50, $60 or something like that," which again, being an amount of money that matches the amount of money for the book that he was supposed to do. I was like, and here comes that hard choice. Do you sell this piece of paper that Eldon still sort of believes is at least important, or at least or maybe a treasure map, for the money to buy the book to, and then he's gonna have a, oh my god, I got scammed, and then he goes back to Ameldevar and is like, oh, I need the paper back. Turns out the book was a scam. But then Almeldevar offers him a different amount of money, more money, just kind of as a favor.
he's like, and again, charmingly goes. He's like, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Like it's like it's a farming map. It's like it's old enough. It's worth like 50, $60. He goes, I will give you $100. Like a cool old guy who's gonna be like, I'm sorry, this was very exciting for you, and it's not an actual treasure map. Let me give you $100. And again, you
Boom,
just, I mean,
yeah.
the red flags. You're like, as a kid, you're like,
No,
dude, he's a
no,
bad
no.
guy.
You're like, he's the guy from the
Again,
prologue. After they sort of they're kind of negotiating the price, and Eldon is like, no, this is actually kind of an important, valuable or not, it's kind of important and cool that we found this here. Why don't we display it at the school for a little while?
which
And
again is weird because they're like making money. Eldon raising money for this seems like such a big deal. Like, I agree that it's like, it's actually way cooler just to have this thing than to have $100. Which is true, but I'm also like, well, then why are they making such a big deal about raising the money? I mean, there's a scene at the end where there's like a fundraiser for something, and there's like $38 on the table, and he's like, wow, the community's coming together. His house is saved. And this is
yeah,
like $100 for a farming map. But
it's more than
it's just an odd thing.
literally the next scene. They make a bunch of, some of the other buttercreamers make a bunch of money doing something else, and it's not even
It's
$100. But
it's just so weird how much Eldon is like portrayed. It's like tell us that he's flawed, but they're not showing us in this really specific way where I feel like the language of everything is the language of the film is telling us like, ooh, Eldon's obsessed with money. It's like, yeah, to keep an old man from being homeless or whatever the hell.
they tell us he, like you said, they tell us he's flawed, but then the flaws that they show us don't line up with the things that we're telling, so it becomes very
Yeah.
confusing. After Eldon sort of basically refuses the things that Meldevar's offer for the piece of paper, Meldevar is subtly but visibly like miffed at this offer, and sort of in kind of a sinister backhanded way kind of compliments Eldon, and Eldon gets this really suspicious look, and yeah, you're like, is nobody else watching this guy's performance? Like, yeah, this is the bad guy. Like, you can tell he's the bad guy because of the way he is. Also his
Yeah.
ponytail.
The man with the ponytail. I'm also
Could,
pretty
could
sure I was gonna make a joke about him being like the only not like blindingly white person in there, but I'm pretty sure that he's just very tan and slash maybe doing brown face a little bit.
also Also, you've forgotten the two new creamers
That
that
I was gonna, but there
we
was
haven't even gotten to talk about them yet.
yeah,
Eli and what's her name? What's the other girl's name? Jessie? No, Jessie.
Jesse.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
Jesse.
Jessie. But oh my God, we are barely 20 minutes into this movie, so this is gonna end up being a multi-parter because
We had to watch 4 episodes of Odyssey to barely get 30 minutes of actual content. That's not just us bullshitting or hating on Eugene.
maybe we just do a run of doing this because I actually found a playlist of feature films for family movies that
I
can
really want to watch Willie the Sparrow with you or on a. We've been talking. Did we talk about it on here? Where we're gonna try to do a.
talking about on our own with their sisters, with the
Yeah,
other
get both of
sisters.
our
Yeah,
sisters on here.
that would be fun. But yeah, we're gonna cut it off from here as we to lead into the next couple maybe two more episodes, depends on how long we get stuck on talking about everything else that happens. In the meantime, please subscribe to the podcast. Yeah, we're available on Spotify and iTunes. You can also find us on YouTube for video versions of this. Get all my cool cinematographical motions and demonstrations, because yeah, the next bits of this movie get weird with that. You can also find us on TikTok at Talking to Tomato, or on our individual TikToks. I am Eric.Eberly.
And I'm Titan of Joy.
Talk to you later, screamers and creamers.
And I'm Chris. If you ever see a man with a ponytail, he could be a Spaniard or worse, a college professor. Rest in peace, Dr. Dobson.